89.9 KMOJ FM and KMOJ HD1 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Bringing unity to the community. 89.9 KMOJ, the People's Station.
Hey, it's 89.9 KMOJ. Ooh, you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I know. It's still sounding a little weird.
The feds is watching. They listen.
Feds are watching. Oh, all right. Well, it's 2:00 after the 1:00 hour. I'm Glam Life Kim, and in the building with me is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. What's up, Anthony Taylor?
How you doing, Glam Life Kim? I'm well.
Good. I'm doing.
You doing? You doing?
I'm doing. You know what? The sun isn't out today. That's the problem.
Well, you know what? You know, we got a situation where we need some type of intervention from the Lord or Mother Nature. Like we can't keep doing this. You know,
Right.
I was in 70. It was 70 degrees Friday. I was in shorts, just doing stuff
Right.
around my house. You know, I'm like, oh man, I get to put the skull cap away.
Right.
Not today.
Then it snowed. Did you
And
catch
then
the
it
little
snowed.
flurries?
I saw them and I wished them away.
Oh my God. And I started to feel like a little tingle last night in my throat. And I said, because I was sitting in a chair and you could feel like the air kind of coming down. The air gets me every time. I said, okay, so I took NyQuil. So like
You said you was in that pre-maintenance stage.
I'm like,
huh?
yes, I could not be sick. And this weather would do it to you.
You look good today, though.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah,
So do you
always good to see you.
Man, you as well.
One of my favoriteest people ever in life. I'm gonna
Okay,
tell you
well,
that.
there it is.
Yeah, that's
All right,
all.
it's a
That's all you
mutual
need to know,
feeling.
and that's
It's a
facts
mutual
right there,
feeling,
y'all.
that part.
Welcome, everybody. This is Minneapolis 360. I am your host, Anthony Taylor, from the city of Minneapolis. It's always my pleasure to be here, riding shotgun with Glam Life Kim, and appreciating everybody at the KMOJ radio station for their support of this show going on. Oh, man, I almost say, Kim, at least, 6 years maybe, I think,
my
strong.
God. I can't believe that it's been that long.
Time flies,
when
right?
you're having fun.
And you're having fun, and you're around good people. And this
Mhm.
is one of my favoriteest parts of the day. Yeah, I said favoriteest. She said it too. That's a
Right,
word,
it's a-
y'all.
it's a
You
new
can Google
word.
it. It's still there. One of my favorite times of the day to bring you any type of information that I can. You know, always, Minneapolis, I always have favorite shows, right? And I'm super clear on the shows that I'm favorite with. I am not shy about saying that. First of all the shows that I have are really good shows, but there are some topics that are really favorite. And I think I talked to you a little bit a couple of weeks ago about any time that Minneapolis can come out with jobs, especially with Public Works and Monique Fish and her team, I think is really a good thing. And this topic today is one of my favorites because of, first of all, the many people who are involved in this topic that we're going to talk about today, and just the intentional ways that engagement has happened and the thoughtfulness around this project. Minneapolis, I'm talking about the future of People's Way at George Floyd Square. Now, there's a lot of us in community who know what People's Way is, right? So if you aren't aware what People's Way is, think about the Speedway, right? The Speedway right across the street where George Floyd was murdered, and that place, right? That whole entire circle has been a sacred place that people have gathered, they've celebrated, they've cried. Y'all, listen, we're approaching 5 years if you look on your calendar, right, when this unfortunate incident happened. But I'll tell you something, Minneapolis, there has been so much work that behind the scenes, if you've not been able to go to some of these engagement events, that you could tell there's a lot of things that's been happening around the circle, right? And one of the things that's really important that I think I want to have folks come on and update about is the future of the Speedway, AKA the People's Way, and what's going on there. Like, Minneapolis, think about this. This building will be sold to a community member to be able to develop that space to keep it here in the city. This is not a building that the city of Minneapolis will hold forever, right? The idea, and we've had updates before, is the idea is to have a community group buy that building. And there's been a lot of engagement going on around that square. This is really Minneapolis, just to give you just a little quick insight. I started with the city of Minneapolis in 2017, and unfortunately, when George Floyd was murdered, I myself and a lot of other people were on the street trying to do some engagement. So when we talk about engagement, Minneapolis, you're talking about 5 years of all levels of engagements around this square. So it's important to me that I have folks to come on and talk about this project, because I know if it means that much to me, it means that much to you. So I want to bring on Alexander Kado and Miles Mercer from the city of Minneapolis to come on the show and have this conversation. Welcome to you both. How are you guys doing?
Great. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey.
and one of the things that I think is important, we'll jump right into it. You know, Alexander's been on for quite a few times. I always like to make sure he gets his flowers. But Miles, I'd love for you to have you explain to the city of Minneapolis just exactly who you are and your role in the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having us, Anthony. I'm Miles Mercer. I'm a manager in the city's Department of Community Planning and Economic Development. And one of the things my team works on is commercial real estate projects the city's involved in. And so it was my team that worked on purchasing the People's Way property back in 2023. And we've been coordinating the property since then. And then we are coordinating the process to find a new community-oriented owner for the site.
Go ahead, Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, great to be here, Anthony. I've been on many times. It's great to be back. I am in the Office of Public Service, and I manage the city's portfolio of work at George Floyd Square. Maybe portfolio is not the right term, but I manage the work that the city is doing to support the community at George Floyd Square. I've been doing that work in this capacity since really the summer of 2020.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the future of the People's Way at George Floyd Square. And Miles, so I gave just a small bit of what the People's Way is, but I'd love you to just go more in depth about, if folks don't know, give us some more details about the People's Way.
Yeah, I think, Anthony, as you said, the People's Way has really shown to be an important part of the broader George Floyd Square area. It is an area of gathering for people, for remembrance, for celebration, for grief, for all sorts of gatherings and different emotions that people experience there. It's also been a place where people have left different memorials and art related to George Floyd and to the square. And so it really, as you said, is a special place in the city of Minneapolis, if not our region, if not our state, if not our country. And the city purchased the property, as I said, back in June 2023, and since then has been working towards a process to find a new use and a new owner for the site. And so we, back in the fall, we started that process.
We are talking with Miles Mercer, Alexander Kado from the city of Minneapolis, talking about the future of the People's Way at George Floyd Square. Listen, we don't say Speedway anymore. It's the People's Way, Minneapolis, and I think a lot of us know that. So, Miles, I'm glad you touched on this, and let's go to here, right? So you say you're in the process of finding an owner, right? And I don't know if people understand necessarily how that process works, right? So just kind of give us an update on the process, and have you been able to identify some folks? Just kind of give people an update.
Yeah, so the process, the technical name for the process is a request for qualifications. And so what that means is we put together a document that was informed by all the community engagement that Alexander and others were leading last year and involved in, and set out what are the goals, and really what did we hear as the community's goals for the People's Way site. And then we had to put some information in that document about what we wanted to hear from any respondents, and also sort of how we would be evaluating the evaluation criteria for that. So that document, that request for qualifications, went out back in the fall. We had a deadline for organizations. We advertised it, and we ended up getting 4 responses, 4 applications. And the 4 applicants are, in no particular order, the Minnesota Agape Movement, P3 Foundation, also known as David's Place, Rise and Remember, and the Urban League Twin Cities. And so those are the 4 organizations that submitted applications to us. And since that submissions, we've been doing community engagement on those 4 applications, and we've done a variety of events, some large, some small, online, in person, to try to get community feedback and input on those applicants.
And Alexander, I want to bring you in, because one of the things that I'm most happy with is the way you go about engagement, right? And not only you, but there's a lot of other people who have done engagement for years, right? I don't even want to put this engagement any type of year or year and a half. I want to say 5 years, and I'm going to say that, right? But specifically around the engagement for this project, just go over some of the things that has happened with community that they were able to be involved with the People's Way, Alexander.
Absolutely, Anthony. I mean, you're absolutely right. We've been doing engagement at George Floyd Square for a number of years, and really specifically to this People's Way effort. We really want to engage with the folks that live in that area that are really impacted by the decisions that happen there. On February 26th, we had an event at Sabathani Community Center that Miles alluded to with each of the 4 groups he mentioned, and they each gave a presentation and answered questions. It was a really well-attended event. Over 100 people were there. It was really kind of a community-led event. City staff were there, but just kind of in the background, helping to support and facilitate. Their presentations are available on our project webpage. Anthony, if you can share that with the audience or on the KMOJ website, that'd be great. But those presentations were recorded so everyone can see them. We do have an online survey it was going to be closed on the 21st of March, but we're extending that to March 28th. So we're encouraging anyone and everyone to watch that video content, respond to the survey, and indicate your values, beliefs, and preferences based on the presentations. We also did a few pop-up events in the area. We were at Bachota Coffee last weekend. We were at Powderhorn Park. We were at Hosmer Library. Just providing a few more touch points so that community members can engage with us and learn more about the work. So please take the survey. It's open till March 28th. It's on our project webpage, and we'll continue to move along with the work.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. And listen, Minneapolis, there's over 300 folks who've responded to this survey already. So that tells you that there's a lot of people interested in that. So extending that survey to get more input, I think is huge. Yep. And Alexander, just real quick. So you talk about the event that happened in February at Sabathani, and those groups were able to kind of present and answer some questions from the public. In your mind, as you've done so much engagement throughout this whole entire process, just talk about what you felt, just, how the tone was, and just your thoughts on how that engagement went.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said this to some of the city team. That was honestly my favorite engagement event that we've done since we've been doing work at George Floyd Square, because it was so much more community-led. Community members were presenting, community members were asking questions or responding. It really felt nice to just let community kind of drive the conversation and kind of share their visions and their hopes and aspirations. And I think that's something that we as a city have tried to the best of our ability to do, knowing that we do have the responsibility for maintaining those streets, for maintaining that People's Way property. But we want it to be developed and guided by what community needs. And I think we as government have a tremendous responsibility and opportunity to help realize that community vision, and seeing it take shape at that event was really special. I just think it's kind of showcasing how we can work well with community to realize these things. And I want to continue to help supporting that work. And I know Miles does as well, and the rest of the team, and also the community. Yeah,
I agree. I was there. I know Miles was there too. It's one of the things that I thought was really a really good meeting. And what you said something to me, Alex, I heard you say something today. What made that event special was that folks were able to kind of own their own narrative in that space, right? So to me, I thought that was an excellent point that you made. And as I turn it back to you, Miles, to give you a little bit of a tougher question here, because sure, I put my community member hat on and I put my city of Minneapolis hat on, I put my dad hat on. We all do that, right? Mm-hmm. So if I put my community member hat on and say, okay, we've got these 4 applicants, right? And I wonder, how will they be evaluated, right? Like to me, I think that's an important part of that process, because if I'm a community member, I want to say, hey, who do you decide? Like, what's going on? Right. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that, Miles?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the request for qualifications document that I mentioned, which is still on the city's website, laid out the criteria that the city would use to evaluate these applications. And I would say a big part of what we're looking at is capacity of these organizations to pull off something at the People's Way and be able to pull off some sort of design process, some sort of potential improvements to the property, and importantly, be able to own and operate it on an ongoing basis. So one of the things we'll be looking at is who are the members of these teams, and each of the applications are really our teams. There's more than one organization or one. Sometimes they have architects or other project managers or other consultants as part of their teams. And so we want to understand who are these teams. Do they seem to have the skills and experience to advance a process, advance a project, and ultimately own and operate a property at this very important site? And then related to that, another aspect of this is also sort of how well does their intentions for the site match with the community values. So we identified important values and elements of the People's Way for the future of the People's Way through all the community engagement. So how well are the applicants articulating and seem to be able to realize the values that the community told us that were important. So some of those values relate to what is their idea for the project at the site. You know, there could be a whole range of changes at the site, or potentially very little change. And so working through how much are they thinking that they might keep the site as it is versus potentially build a building of some sort. There is one aspect. Another is community services. We heard that the community is still interested in sort of the People's Way being a place to receive some level of service to the community, and so we want to understand what their intentions are around that. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of artwork and memorials that are on the People's Way site. So how are these teams approaching that art and those memorials, and what might be, how might they treat them, how might they be incorporated into the future of the site? And then lastly, I would say really importantly is how ready and how able are these teams able to work with community? There's going to be a lot more process and certainly a lot more community engagement going forward to actually refine and come up with and work through the details of a development proposal for this site. And we expect the applicants, or whoever we designate as the team, to work with community through that whole process.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that, Miles, because I would really want to know, and just to have a follow-up question, like how beautiful is it that all four of these organizations are local organizations, right? And these are people who have it invested. So kind of just talk about why that was important for the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think it's important to have local because it's people, in many cases, people from the community. Mm-hmm. If not the immediate community of George Square, at least the Minneapolis community and certainly our metro community that really have a understanding and a connection of why that area is special. I think also by having teams that are largely local is that then that provides opportunity for all those team members to work on this really important project.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you, Miles, on that one. And Alexander, as I bring you back, right, like what's going on now at the square? Like give us kind of an update of what's going on.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it concise. There's a lot going on. So we spent 2024 developing a vision for George Floyd Square that really brought into account a vision for the streets, memorials, and the People's Way. We've talked a lot about the People's Way. We did also recommend a street design concept, flexible open street design, and we shared that with City Council, and they have asked us to explore a pedestrian mall design. So we're going through that process now. It'll take us most of the year, and I'm sure I'll be back on your show maybe later this summer.
You know you will, Alexander. Let's keep it real, right? You'll be back.
Yeah. So we're still exploring the street components, but the work on the People's Way will continue in parallel, and whatever decisions we make on either of those will be done in alignment. And then with the memorials, we just really focused on identifying locations for future memorials. And want to support the Floyd family as they develop a memorial to honor the death of George Floyd. And so that work in 2024 with the vision is now being carried forward in 2025, and the People's Way is really the kind of next topic that we're advancing. But all of this work will continue in the coming years, and we're really excited to continue on this momentum with this work.
Yeah, and I agree, and thank you for that, Alexander. We'll talk later about street design, right? And I think some folks, who've kind of been tracking, kind of understands kind of what's been going on, right, with recommendations and council. So we won't dig into the weeds later. We will dig into the weeds later on that. But one of the things I think is important is next steps, right? So if I bring you back, Miles, and we start talking about the next step of this process, what does that look like?
Yeah, so as Alexander said, we have an online survey, so we're still collecting input from any and all folks who are interested. There's links available on the city's website. If you Google City of Minneapolis People's Way or City of Minneapolis George Floyd Square, you should find the link to this online survey. That goes through March 28th. So one of the things we need to do is compile the community input we've heard, both in the events as well as the online survey, and then we have a city staff team from different city departments that will get together and review all that input and consider the strengths and weaknesses of the different applications. And ultimately, the city staff team will come up with a recommendation of who to who the city should designate as the organization to work to take next steps with on this property. And that decision needs to be approved by both the city council and the mayor. And so the timing of when that decision will happen is still to be determined. We think it'll be sometime in the upcoming months, but the specific dates are still to be determined. But that's where we're heading.
Yeah, and I think that's important to kind of make sure that we explain that, right? So this is not a decision that Miles Mercer makes. This is not a decision that Alexander Kado makes. This is up to the city council and mayor, which I think that's very important. Also, too, just Minneapolis, if you just understand that this is an election year too, so I'll just put that into space, everybody. So just to be clear on that. So, and as we kind of wrap up the show, I want to turn it to you, Alexander, to talk about just where can they find more information? How can you guide people and direct people for more info on this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. Our city webpage is the best source, kind of that source of truth. The videos for the presentations, the survey, more information on the evaluation criteria and things that Miles alluded to is all on our project webpage. Surveys are due Friday, March 28th. Anthony, are you able to share the project webpage on the KMOJ radio? I know we're on air, so I don't know how you share a webpage link, but are you able to do that?
Yeah, we can share that.
Okay. I messaged it to you. It's really long, so I don't know if you verbally say it or if you just put it on. I don't know.
I'll figure it out. Trust me, Alexander.
Okay. But yeah, just please engage, participate, and thank you to the listeners for taking the time to listen to us.
Yeah, and thank you both. And I think one of the things that's very important that this is really intentional work, right? And it's also meant for community. And first of all, I just want to thank both of you for your continued work in this process. And one of the things I think is important that you guys come on and be able to talk about this. There's a lot of people tracking this, and not just here locally, but nationally. So being able to come on and talk about the process and where we're at, I think is very important. So thank you both for coming on. Look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the attention on this site.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
This is huge. Kim, what's your thoughts?
Well, I guess, and just so people can have the information, the website and where to go. I mean, I'm sure they can just search, right? The People's Way.
George Floyd Square. You can always call 311. Right?
When in doubt, 311 knows everything.
Right, absolutely.
So you have options so that you can figure out more. But I think that I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the future of People's Way. And just how it's going to look. And I mean, we gave you guys the opportunity to get your voice heard.
That's right.
Man.
It's going to look different.
It's definitely going to look
different. Like, you got a lot of people
night and day,
with different ideas and designs. I've seen some concepts where
you saw some of the concepts?
Yeah, and that was part of the presentation, right? Some people have community gardens. Some people have got like a rooftop celebration type thing.
That sounds nice.
Some people's got like a studio for kids that could be able to come in there. Yeah, like so many different, like a museum and a gift shop, and
that's so beautiful.
yeah, a lot of
gonna be amazing.
It'll be amazing, So ultimately, I think at the end of the day, whoever gets chosen's got a big job. Right?
Yeah,
So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I wish there was like if they can just put all of them together and then
make
find
it
a
happen.
way. Yeah, it would be awesome.
They talked about that too.
They should.
They talked about that. They said, well, how can we get together and collaborate? And get it together. So, we'll see.
Collaboration is key. I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
It's never. Because if we got a potluck, you got to bring some. I got to bring.
Yeah, and then it makes for a fantastic meal.
Fantastic meal. Thank you always, sis, for being, part of this. So appreciate you.
Of course. So what you up to today?
Man, you know what? I got a meeting after a meeting. That's all I do.
It's meeting. Your Wednesdays usually are jam-packed with
Tuesdays, Mondays.
Right.
So
I swear, I try not to overpack Mondays because I'm like, after the weekend, you need a little break. But
you more busier than me. I know how you do it. I don't know. So
always something going on, right?
Good to see you, sister.
You as well. And don't forget, we have KMOJ's boat ride coming up. Tickets will be going on sale at the end of this week. Yes.
Already. It's in May. Yeah. I say I am, but I usually...
You have to. May 24th. You should just do it.
That's my birthday, too.
Ooh, perfect.
That's my birthday.
What's the plans? Do you have plans? If you don't have plans, the boat is your plan.
The boat might be my plan. Me and water, I don't know. I just like it in the shower.
It's really, I swear
I know
you
it's
won't
a
even
beautiful
feel
thing.
it. You won't even
I went twice before when I first moved. It's a beautiful thing. And y'all have elevated that whole entire thing.
Oh my God, yes.
It's a beautiful time. So it might be my plan.
Come on, let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. We're going to make sure we got a table for you. Get you some balloons.
Oh my God.
And a cake. We're going to make it special for you.
Okay. You might soul me.
Okay. Hey, well, let me know because I'm willing to make it happen.
Okay. All right, sister.
All right, y'all. We're going to get back into the jams. Up next is 30 for 30, SZA and Kendrick Lamar right here on 89.9 KMOJ, the People Station.